Hey, it's Tony Brueski, and this is our week in review over the weekend, taking a look back at some of the most compelling conversations and stories that we've covered for you of the last week. Brand new episodes back Monday morning, bright and early, 5 a.m. here on the podcast.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
The Hidden Killers Podcast.
With Tony Brueski.
We are talking with forensic psychologist Kate Wallinga today. Talking Bryan Kohberger, the case that mainly the argument recently has been media coverage. Oh, that media coverage. Their concern about it tainting a possible jury pool and his ability to have a fair trial. Is this a valid argument today, at this day and age and our setting, just considering, yes, things have changed dramatically over the years, but complaining about people talking and podcasts and YouTubers and this or that isn't going to really change podcasts and YouTubers and everybody reporting on the case?
I mean, myself as a podcaster, as well as somebody who's worked in the criminal justice system, I would prefer complete openness at all times because it's like a game of telephone. The more silence that happens and the more people in between what's actually being said and what's being reported, the more messed up it's all going to be.
Sure.
So let's go ahead and be factually accurate. Let's go ahead and show court is kind of boring.
Yeah.
A lot of times, to be real. And, you know, and him dressed in a suit, like that's such a defense attorney move. Mm-hmm. That happens all the time. They're told dress a certain way, be careful. He's I'll tell you, he's not good at and I guarantee he's been trained at some degree to control his facial expression. Mm-hmm. He's terrible at that.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of smirking at the last court appearance, which made it a little bit more uncomfortable than normal with his staring eyes that he has.
For real. And there's a thing where if we knew exactly what was being said when and could put it in context, then maybe it's not a smirk. Maybe it's his lawyer trying to loosen him up. We don't really know. But when we don't have access minute by minute, but we have access constantly to releasing things and saying things like podcasts and like YouTube, you end up with these wild speculation. And I'd rather know exactly what is he smirking about?
Yeah.
Like what happened in the 3 seconds before it?
What I found interesting thus far is their complaint about the specific types of people that are talking about the case against him. The wild speculation that's out there doesn't necessarily seem to focus so much on Kohberger. It seems to focus on other people that people are accusing of this crime. The people who are speculating about Kohberger are really basing their speculation on the facts that we have, on the evidence that exists, on the testimonies, on the reports that have come out that are factual and fact-based, and seem to be fairly normal conversations and assumptions that may be made or speculations that I think are valid. But that's the ones they want to quash. They don't seem to really care so much about all the other wild speculation that's throwing many other people's names under the bus and such, but only him. And
I mean, of course.
Yeah, and of course, man. And he's the one who seems to be, the speculation is there, and it is rampant because there's so much information and so much damning information. I don't know that it really helps him by not having his attorneys being able to speak and kind of control or correct a narrative, or some of the family being able to speak up and provide some of the narrative and some of the insight rather than just rampant speculation.
No, but I would say that it helps him a lot to have people speculating wildly about other involvement, other people's involvement, other cases. That's much to his advantage.
Sure.
Because the more people you can say, well, maybe this, maybe that becomes the whole concept of reasonable doubt, which, look, the police have been so much more open with his case than they normally are. Like normally you don't see a lot of the stuff that has been released about the Kohberger case until, charges have been filed. Like we saw it before he was extradited even.
Yeah.
And so they feel real strongly about this. And so the extra speculation is just noise. It's people who work in audio talk about a signal to noise ratio, meaning the signal is the message you want to get across and the noise is all the extra crap that it distracts.
Yeah.
And that's all just noise, but that's to the defense's benefit. The more noise they have, the more chance they have to throw stuff at the wall and see if maybe we can get one juror to go not guilty.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. What's your take, speaking of speculation, Steve Gonsalves had recently stated that he believes that Kohberger murdered out of jealousy because of the girl's lifestyle, if you will. Do you feel that that is an accurate statement for maybe some of the motive or some of the rage that this individual had behind him, allegedly?
I think it's dangerous for a rational, visual quotes here, normal person to speculate about the motives of someone who is clearly unwell. Unsafe, unrational. It would meaning like we don't know. People who are sociopaths do not think the way that we do. They don't experience jealousy, rage, love, hate, anger, frustration, any of those emotions the way that we do. They may have them, but they feel different. So for instance, I've worked with one convicted and admitted murderer who killed another man whom he'd never met before. They were both in a bar, and the other man was served his drink. So like the bartender got the drink orders wrong, and the convicted murderer took this so personally that he killed the guy. Right? Like that's not rational. And there's no amount of sort of obsessing or sitting with it that's going to make sense. And I've had the opportunity to sit with the perpetrator and be like, okay, listen, my guy, fill in my blank for me, please. What was that?
Yeah.
And he was like, in the moment, I felt so disrespected and I couldn't wait long enough to take that out on the bartender, but I had to act on it. And I was like, could you have just waited 5 minutes? And he was like, well, in retrospect, I guess that would have made sense. Do you see what I'm saying? And so they function differently. And so guessing it was jealousy, jealous, I don't feel is the right word because he was fairly comparable in terms of socioeconomic and demographic status, but he had a way of moving through the world that people with a normal range of emotions just don't have.
You're listening to the Hidden Killers Podcast.
Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Brueski.
Hold that thought, because I want to continue this conversation tomorrow with you, Kate. We will do just that. I want you to press subscribe wherever you're downloading podcasts so you don't miss any breaking updates or discussions on the cases that we follow for you right here. Get an ad-free experience through Apple Podcasts when you sign up there right now. I'm Tony Brueski. Stay with us.